Hey everyone, my name is Ishar. I'll be walking you through a slow flow beginners yoga class today. So let's find a comfortable seat on our mat. We'll keep our spine upright and we'll place our palms face down on our knees. Close our eyes. Just take a moment to tune inwards. Notice how you currently feel in this present moment, and just accept it without any judgment. And now bring your attention to your breath. Pay attention to the inhalations and the exhalations. And as you go deeper into this centering, you might notice when you inhale, the air feels cooler against your nostrils. And then when you exhale, the air feels warmer. So by watching our breath here, we provide an anchor for our practice. And ideally, this is the state we want to be in all our yoga poses. So if you find that you've lost your attention, inner attention in any of the yoga poses, then it might be a sign that you're going a little bit too fast. Just take a few more moments here. And then on your next exhale, you can slowly open your eyes. And we'll start to warm up our body. We'll come onto our hands and knees for tabletop position. So keep your knees about hip distance apart here. And we'll come into a few cat-cows. So on our inhale, we'll come up for cow. And then exhale, arch for cow, cat. Inhale up for cow. And exhale, cat. Inhale up for cow. And exhale, cat. Just do a few more at your own pace. Just opening up your spine here. And then on your next cat, we'll press into a downward facing dog. So we'll push our feet back and try to get our heels down to the mat. And because this is our first down dog of the day, we can pedal our feet back and forth, just dropping one heel then the other. So opening up our hamstrings here. Now press both heels to the mat. On your next exhale, bend your knees. Step forward. We're going to come into ragdoll, so we'll separate our feet hip distance apart. Grab opposing elbows and just sway side to side. You can bend one knee then the other. And exhale, drop both your hands down, forward fold. Inhale halfway up, so you're going to keep the crown of the head pointing towards the front of the room. Back straight. And exhale, fold. Bring your hands to heart center, come up all the way. Slight arch in the back, and then come to neutral. And just notice how you feel in this present moment. So we'll be entering the Sun Salutation A series, and this is aimed to warm up our body for the next coming yoga poses. So our next inhale, we'll slightly arch back. The next exhale, forward fold. Inhale halfway up. And then exhale, step back into a plank. And we'll lower it all the way down to the mat. Bring your hands to your ribs. Coming into just a baby cobra here, slight back bend. And exhale, downward facing dog. Let's take a few breaths here. So when you're down dog, you want your feet hip distance apart. So think of 2 fists in between your feet. On your next exhale, bend your knees. Step forward, coming into a forward fold. Inhale halfway up. And exhale, fold. Bring your hands to heart center, come up all the way. Slight arch in the back, and then come back to neutral. And when you're ready, inhale, slight arch back. And exhale, forward fold. Inhale halfway up. Step back into a plank. This time we're going to lower down halfway so our shoulders are in line with our elbows. So if your elbows are out, you want to pull them in. And then drop your feet, upward facing dog. Then exhale, down dog. And breathe here. Bend your knees, walk forward, forward fold. Inhale halfway up, and exhale fold. Bring your hands to heart center, come up all the way, slight arch in the back, and then come back to neutral. So we'll do that sequence one more time. So on your next exhale, slight arch back, and then fold forward. Inhale halfway up. Exhale, step back into a plank. And again, lower down halfway, coming up to upward facing dog. And then exhale, down dog. So keep in mind you can always skip the little push-up sequence and go straight to downward facing dog. I often do it a lot of times in my classes personally. But what's most important is finding stillness in your breath in all these poses. On your next exhale, bend your knees. Step forward, forward fold. Inhale halfway up, and exhale fold. Bring your hands to heart center, and come up all the way, slight arch in the back, and then come back to neutral. And just take a moment here, and notice how you feel now, after just a couple of minutes of sun salutations. Now we'll be entering the Sun Salutation B series. So we'll be coming into chair, the first pose. So bring our big toes to touch and then sit back. You want to hinge from your hips here, really pull your hips back. And you can either stay here, hands by heart center, bring your arms out, or together. This is the classical variation. And then exhale, forward fold. Inhale halfway up. Exhale, step back into a plank. And you can do your vinyasa or go straight to downward facing dog. And just a few breaths here. And we'll come into warrior one. So we'll spin the back right foot at a 45-degree angle, left foot in between our hands, and then rise. So while we're in warrior one, we want to make sure that our hips are squared forward towards the front of the room. And then your front knee is bent at a 90-degree angle. A few breaths here. If you're having a hard time squaring your hips, you can always walk the back foot slightly outwards so you have more stability. And exhale, forward fold. Drop your hands. And you can do a vinyasa or go straight to downward facing dog. So we'll come to warrior one on the other side. Back left foot, dropped at a 45-degree angle. The right foot in between your hands, and then rising. Again, making sure the front knee is bent at a 90-degree angle. And exhale, drop your arms down. And go straight to down dog or do your vinyasa. Now bend your knees. Step forward, forward fold. Inhale halfway up. And exhale, fold. Now bring your big toes to touch. We'll come into chair again. So rising up. A few breaths here. You take whichever variation you took last time. And exhale, rise up. And just notice how you feel now. So we'll do sun salutation B series one more time. Big toes to touch. And then from here, sitting back. And exhale, forward fold. Inhale halfway up. Exhale, step back into a plank. And you can go straight to downward facing dog or do your vinyasa. And next exhale, spin the back right foot down, left leg in between your hands, warrior one. And next exhale, drop your hands, and you can do your vinyasa or go straight to downward facing dog. Now on your next exhale, drop the back left foot down, right foot in between your hands. Warrior one. And then exhale, drop both your hands, and you can meet in a downward facing dog or you can take your vinyasa. Now on your next exhale, you can bend your knees and step forward, coming into forward fold. Inhale halfway up, and exhale fold. Now bring your big toes to touch, and then coming into chair. A few breaths here. And then exhale, rise all the way up. And bring your hands by your sides, and just notice how you feel in this moment. So we'll now set up for tree pose. So in tree pose, we'll first plant a right leg down onto the mat, left foot to the ankle here. And before we come into tree, I want to make sure that we pull that knee back so as much as our hips will allow us. And at the point where you can't move your knee any further back, this is where you'll stop. And you can stay here, bring your hands by heart center. You can bring your foot to the calf. You can bring your foot also to the thigh as well. But you want to make sure that your foot is not on your knee, so either below or above it. So obviously if the higher variations are a little bit harder, you can always bring your foot here to your ankle. And then stare at an object in front of you, just so you have that stability and groundedness. Just 2 more breaths here. And then next exhale, you can release your leg and just shake the legs out here. So we're setting up for the other side. So planting our left thigh down to the mat. From here, we'll bring our right foot to the ankle. You can bring it to the calf or the thigh. So make sure that you open that hip out first. And this is done by just moving the knee out and then raising it. Just 2 more breaths here. And then next exhale, you can release the leg and just shake both your legs out. Now we'll bring our feet hip distance apart. So you can tell that by taking your fists and then sticking it right in between your feet so you have a good understanding of hip distance. We'll take our peace fingers, grab a hold of our big toes, and then really bend your knees a lot and come forward. And then exhale, drop your heels and forward fold. So in order to make the pose slightly more challenging, you can just lean forward onto the balls of your feet and then drop the heels back down again. Now keeping the grasp on your big toes, we'll come up halfway so our spine is straight. And then from here, we'll lift our feet up, take our palms, slide them underneath. So ideally that our big toes are on our wrists. And then you would fold again. So this is Padahasana, or otherwise known as gorilla pose. And this is really good for relieving tension in your wrists, especially if you have a job where you're typing a lot or you're writing a lot. This can relieve tension here. Now come up halfway with your hands still underneath your feet. And now you can lift your feet up and then release your hands and just shake your hands out. And then from here we'll just come back down onto our mat. Setting up for our first pose, butterfly. So bring our feet in together, grabbing hold of your big toes. And typically before I like to come into butterfly, I do like to incorporate some movements just to open up my hips. So grabbing hold of your big toes, we'll just rotate in a circular fashion. Just opening up our hips here. And then now if we went one direction, go the other direction as well. And then come back to neutral spine. So grab a hold of big toes again, straighten our spine. Then exhale, lead with your chest. So rather than taking your head and just dropping it over like this, lead with your chest. So you might not go down as much, but you'll definitely feel the opening in your hips. Alright, next exhale, you can gently rise up. We're coming to with some windshield wipers just to relieve any tension, so bring your hands behind our back. We'll just rotate our knees, just move our knees side to side. And now we'll set up for forward fold. So we'll bring our legs out. And then I might need to raise up and then ground both our hip bones down, coming for Paschimottanasana. So it's a fourfold, so we'll bring our big toes to touch and then our sides of our feet in towards us. And then from here, we'll raise our arms up. And then you can just either drop your hands down to the mat here and just round your back. Or if it's accessible, you can grab your feet. If you do have a strap in handy, you can always wrap the strap around your feet as well. But in either case, don't force anything, but rather let gravity take its course and really get you deeper in this pose here. Then next exhale, rise up, release the grasp in your feet. And then bring your hands behind your back. We'll just come into an easy reverse table, reversing the forward fold, just opening up our back. And then exhale, come back down. We'll set up for double pigeon here. So we'll stack our left leg over the bottom right leg. So ideally that our ankles are on top of our knees. So if this is a little bit too intense for you, you can always just come into a cross-legged position, like so. In either case, we'll straighten our back and then start to walk our hands forward, coming into a fold. If you'd also like to release any tension in your triceps, you can always place your elbows on the mat and then come into prayer hands and draw the palms back into your spine. And then your next exhale, we'll start to walk our hands closer to our hips. And then push yourself up. And we'll set up for the other side. So stacking the right knee over the bottom foot, or coming into a cross-legged position if that's more accessible for you. Straightening the spine, and then walking the hands forward. So if you took the tricep variation, you could also do that on this side as well. On your next exhale, you can start to walk your hands slightly closer towards your hips, and then rise up. So we'll set up for one of our first back bends here. And this is called camel pose. So you can watch me first. We will come into tabletop position. And then from here, the first variation is pointing your toes down to the mat and then rising up. And then from here, we'll bring our hands to our hips and then first push our hips forward. And then as far as your hips can go, this is where you'll start to drop your hands down to your ankles. Then keep your chin facing the front and breathe. So the second variation, and this is the traditional variation, this is where you'll plant your toes down. So obviously this will make it a little bit harder. And basically you're doing the same thing. So rising up, hands by your hips, pushing your hips forward, and then dropping your hands to your ankles. Okay, so let's start off in a tabletop position. You can take whichever variation you want. I'll just show you the first variation here. And then the next exhale, rise up. Bring your hands by your hips. And then push your hips forward as much as you can. And then drop your hands down to your ankles. And then chin facing forward and breathe. And then your next exhale, slowly start to walk your hands a little forward and then sit back. We're going to come back into child's pose. If you'd like to take the variation where you release tension in your lower back, you could bring your knees together, your feet out, and your arms behind your back. And then next exhale, we'll gently make our way onto our back. And just hug your knees into your chest here. And then bring your arms out into a cactus. And then drop your knees over to your left and looking over to your right. And then your next exhale, bring your knees to center. Hug your knees into your chest. Drop your knees over to the right and look over to your left. On your next exhale, bring your knees into center. And hug your knees into your chest one last time before coming into Shavasana, our final resting pose. Now, slowly bring attention back to your body. Wiggle your fingers and your toes. And then on your next exhale, bend your knees. And then roll over to your right hand side, coming into a fetal position. And then on your next exhale, use your hands to gently press yourself up to a seated position with your eyes closed. And take a moment and notice how you feel now in this present moment compared to the beginning of class. And then bring your hands to heart center and acknowledge yourself for practicing yoga today. Namaste.